My sister and I were married on the same day. But the one who lifted my bridal veil was my brother-in-law. That's when I learned that my sister and my sweetheart had been carrying on behind my back and switched the wedding sedans. My brother-in-law, the Prince of Ning, is blind and physically weak, with a gentle, soft-spoken nature. He said to me softly, "Don't be afraid. They won't live much longer. Just endure it a little while." I later realized that the they who wouldn't live much longer were my sister and that sweetheart of mine.
Welcome to a journey of love and destiny under the moonlight. I'm the voice behind Moonlit Love Stories. Now let us step into the story.
My sister and I are twins, our appearances about 80% similar. Her temper is like fire, bold and bright, while I am gentle, slow, and taciturn. Last year, the emperor issued 2 decrees of marriage. My sister was to marry the Prince of Ning, and I was betrothed to Min Shi, a rising star in the court. My sister has been strong-willed since childhood, always wanting to be the best at everything. But I never imagined she would dare to be so willful even in the matter of marriage. Now in the warm, slightly stifling spring, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. The Prince of Ning sat opposite me. If he discovered I wasn't my sister, tomorrow could very well be the death day of the Jiang family. Deceiving the emperor is a great crime, punishable by exile of the entire clan or execution of the whole family. I couldn't bear the weight of either. My sister could be selfish, but I couldn't. After everyone had withdrawn, I hesitantly got up and went over to pay my respects to the prince. "Greetings, Your Highness." Although the prince couldn't see, he should be able to tell the difference between my sister's voice and mine. He paused. "Your voice?" After the betrothal, the prince had visited my home twice. He remembered my sister's voice. "I've caught a chill, it might have changed my voice a bit." I fabricated a reason, not daring to say more. The prince didn't seem overly suspicious, only nodding slightly. "Then rest early." My heart pounded like a drum, my mind racing, thinking of how to get through this wedding night. I had already sent someone home to inform my father. Without a reply from my family, I absolutely dared not let the prince discover the bride had been swapped. The prince stood up. I went over to support him. He was very tall, with first-rate looks, but unfortunately, last year he suddenly fell seriously ill and subsequently lost his sight. Truthfully, if he hadn't gone blind, a man of his brilliance and grace would never have been matched with a daughter of the Jiang family. Of course, if he hadn't fallen out of favor after losing his sight, my sister wouldn't have risked everything to switch grooms. "I can manage myself," the prince said to me with a smile. "You didn't eat at the evening banquet. I had someone prepare noodles for you. Please have some." I bowed my head and assented. He washed up quickly, and none of the worries I had, like him bumping into buckets or chairs, happened. Soon he came out wearing a moon-white underrobe, his hair loose, standing in the flickering candlelight like a magnificent orchid or jade tree, truly noble and elegant. I didn't quite understand why my sister had switched. Although the prince was blind, he was still a prince after all. No matter how promising Min Shi's future was, it wasn't worth her gambling the lives of the entire family for him. "How are the noodles?" the prince asked, sitting on the edge of the bed, using his ears to locate my direction. "Very good," I replied, head still bowed. The prince nodded slightly. "Why are you so quiet today?" My heart leaped. I lied offhandedly. "Perhaps I'm just nervous in an unfamiliar setting." He tilted his head slightly, as if deep in thought. The prince asked me, "Did everything go smoothly with the weddings at both houses today?" "Smoothly," I said, putting down my chopsticks. "Your Highness, I shall go wash up." I fled into the washroom as if escaping, my heart beating even more wildly. I felt that with the prince's intelligence, he could discover I wasn't my sister at any moment. If he did, how should I respond? I dawdled for a long time before emerging. The prince was leaning against the headboard. Hearing my sounds, he turned towards me. My steps faltered and I kicked over the footstool. The prince frowned. "Did you kick your foot?" I held my foot, holding back tears. Just as I was about to answer, the next moment he scooped me up. I gasped in surprise. "Your Highness!" He sat me down on the edge of the bed and held both my feet. "Which foot? Is it broken?" I tried to pull my feet back. He said, "Shall we call for a physician?" The prince asked if I needed a physician. A sudden inspiration hit me. I immediately seized his words. Yes. He gave a light laugh. Good. Then we shall summon a physician for you. I pulled my feet back. The prince also sat up on the bed's edge. After a moment of silence, he suddenly asked, "Are you afraid of me?" I felt his tone was probing. I waved my hands, then remembered he couldn't see. "Your Highness is famously good-tempered. Why would I be afraid?" He raised an eyebrow, his expression somewhat meaningful. "Such as," he said. I hadn't expected him to press further and was momentarily stunned. "That time at dinner at Sanheuan, the waiter was reckless and spilled broth on your robes. You weren't angry but even comforted him instead." He tilted his head, thoughtful. "You were there that day?" "No, I wasn't," I hurriedly denied. "I heard it from others. Actually, I was there that day. Not only there, but some unpleasant things had happened. Things I couldn't speak of." A voice announced the physician's arrival. The prince covered me with the quilt before inviting the physician in. The physician said it wasn't serious and would heal with rest. It really wasn't bad, just a momentary pain. But I hesitated, wanting to invent some ailment to delay through the night. Unexpectedly, before I could speak, the prince said, "Chief Physician Wang, please apply some medicine and bandage it. The weather is warm, and any wound is susceptible to external pathogens." I looked at the prince in surprise. It was as if he knew what I was thinking. Chief Physician Wang was also shrewd. He didn't just bandage the toe. He wrapped my entire left foot into a bulky bundle. 100 days for tendons and bones to heal. Your Highness must rest these days, avoid straining it, lest you injure the ligaments. Chief Physician Wang instructed me with a solemn face. The prince smoothly added, "Thank you for your trouble. I'll invite you for tea another day." "I wouldn't dare," Chief Physician Wang said before hurriedly departing. I looked at my swaddled foot, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "Since you're injured, rest early," the prince said, tucking the quilt around me. "I will sleep on the soft couch so as not to bump your foot and harm the ligaments." I stared at him, stunned, my feelings complicated. That night I barely slept, anxiously enduring until dawn. I had concocted several excuses to avoid going to the palace to pay respects, but unexpectedly, he spoke first. "You are injured and have difficulty moving. Let us dispense with some of the tedious formalities. No need to go?" So, from the moment I hurt my foot last night, he had already planned the subsequent steps? But why would he do this? I became intensely curious about the Prince of Ning. Using my injury as a pretext, my parents and elder brother came to visit. The prince exchanged pleasantries and then excused himself, saying he had matters to attend to. "Zhang Yan is utterly absurd," father said, growing angry and blaming mother. "It's all your spoiling. She's willful and reckless, acting without considering the consequences." Mother was also upset, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. "Blaming each other won't solve the problem," I reminded them. "How is things on sister's side?" Mother whispered, "What's done is done." I rubbed my temples, momentarily at a loss for words. "Second sister," brother said awkwardly. "I know you liked Min Shi, but given the current situation, if we were to forcibly switch you back, and if this ever comes to light in the future." I understood. My sister and Min Shi had already consummated their marriage. Forcing her back to become the Princess of Ning would be adding insult to injury. Putting myself in his shoes, if I were the prince, I wouldn't let the Zhang family off either. "We can only let the mistake stand," I sighed. Mother hugged me and began to cry softly. "This is fate." Father, however, was furious. "What nonsense is this? Although the prince has fallen out of favor, he is still a prince. How bad can it be?" I wiped mother's tears. She was crying for my lost affection. She felt that being betrayed by both my sister and my sweetheart was my bitter fate, and she wanted me to accept it. I was indeed angry, so on the official return visit tomorrow, I would ask them face to face. After seeing my family off, the prince didn't return until nightfall. I was dozing and didn't notice at first. He stopped by the bed and called, "My lady." I sat up. "Your Highness is back. Have you eaten?" He relaxed and smiled. "Not yet. Would my lady accompany me?" He seemed to be in a good mood. When the food was served, he asked if it suited my taste. My sister and I have similar preferences, both favoring light flavors. But my sister adores lamb, while I am picky and don't care for most meat, preferring fish and shrimp. Today's table had both lamb and fish. I picked at the lamb and said with a smile, "It's very delicious." This was only the second time I had eaten lamb. The first time was around 4 or 5 years old. I vomited it up immediately and had refused to touch it since. Afraid I might vomit again, I quickly ate some other things to suppress it. Fortunately, this time I didn't vomit. Just as I was hesitating whether to imitate my sister's hearty appetite, quick, light footsteps sounded outside. A small head peeked in from the doorway, bright black eyes darting around, curiously examining me. "Are you the 7th prince?" I asked him with a smile. The 7th prince is Prince Ning's younger brother by the same mother. He is 4 years old, 14 years younger than the prince. Their mother is Consort Liang. Consort Liang has been with the emperor since his days as crown prince. Although not particularly favored now, with 2 sons, her status in the palace is second only to the empress's. "So you are my second sister-in-law?" The 7th prince ran in, his voice milky and sweet. "Second sister-in-law, you are so pretty." I was about to speak when the prince coughed once. The 7th prince immediately straightened his expression, stepped back twice and bowed to me. Xian pays his respects to sister-in-law. I returned a polite half-curtsy. The 7th prince, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, stayed for dinner. He was endlessly talkative, chattering without pause, bright, lively and impossibly adorable. "Second sister-in-law, what is getting married?" The 7th prince grinned mischievously. I was taken aback. He immediately put on a knowing expression. "Getting married means kissing all day long." The 7th prince puckered his little lips. "Have you kissed yet?" My face suddenly felt hot. I glanced surreptitiously at the prince. He was also startled, the tips of his ears slightly red. The atmosphere became slightly awkward. "How dare you speak to your sister-in-law like that? You have no respect for your elders." The prince rapped on the table. The 7th prince's little face fell on the verge of tears. I hurried to smooth things over. "It's all right. He's just repeating some joke he heard somewhere. You mustn't spoil him or he'll know you're soft-hearted and pester you every day," the prince said. Looking at the 7th prince's eager expression, I smiled. "He's our own younger brother. Let him pester if he wants. We are family. You are good to me and I will be good to you," the 7th prince said, throwing himself into my arms. "Family?" I was startled, blushing as I looked at the prince. He was drinking tea, a smile playing around his eyes. The 7th prince refused to leave, insisting I play chess with him. The prince became annoyed. "We need to rest." As the 7th prince was leaving, he called out, second sister-in-law, remember to kiss." The prince covered the 7th prince's mouth. I couldn't help but laugh. The prince returned and paused by the table, his voice slightly unnatural. "He's always been outspoken. Please don't mind him." "I don't. Children's words carry no harm," I said softly. The prince tilted his head in my direction. "Then let us retire early." "Retire? Together?" I stood up nervously, my breath quickening. Then I'll call someone to prepare the bed." The prince smiled without a word. I instantly realized I had misunderstood his meaning, and was so embarrassed I felt flustered. That night, the prince still slept on the soft couch. The next morning, I unwrapped the bandage on my foot. The servants, seeing my foot was better, all exclaimed how miraculous it was. Actually, I had considered pretending for a few more days, but it was simply too hot, so I decided to drop the act. In the morning, the prince accompanied me on the formal 3rd day, return to my parental home. My father holds a 3rd-rank post in the Ministry of Personnel. He is what people call a humble-born noble son, upright and honest. The Jiang residence isn't large, with only 6 servants, all trusted, so we weren't afraid of them gossiping outside. When I entered, I saw my sister and Min Shi. My sister was dismissive of the whole matter. "Min Shi likes me and I like him. Rather than 4 people suffering, it's better to let us be together. Anyway, what's done is done. If you want me to switch back, fine, but I won't bear the consequences." Father was so angry he hit her. My sister has always had a fiery temper. She grabbed teacups and vases, smashing them wildly. Why should all the good things go to Zhongli? So he's a prince? What does it matter? It doesn't change the fact that he's blind now. Don't talk to me about the crime of deceiving the emperor. I'm not afraid of death. Whoever is afraid can deal with it. She then glared at me. Minxi likes me. It's me. Even if you married him, he wouldn't belong to you. Shut up. I slapped her across the face, suppressing my voice in fury. In your eyes, is it only about romance? Can you disregard the lives of your entire family? I grabbed her arm and started dragging her out. Since you're not afraid to die, let's go find the prince right now and come clean. Let him decide whether to execute or slice us to pieces. I'm not going. Let me go. How could my sister not be afraid of death? She's the type who cries if she dreams about dying herself. In the midst of the commotion, my brother entered the courtyard accompanying the prince. The prince stopped in the courtyard. My lady, what is the matter? I covered my sister's mouth. Zhang Yan, if you shout one more word and let the prince notice something amiss, I will kill you right now. My sister was frightened by my expression. I pushed my sister away, smoothed my skirts, and went to greet the prince in the courtyard. It's nothing. My sister and brother-in-law were just having a quarrel. Good, as long as you're all right, the prince said, his brow relaxing. I supported him into the main hall. Looking up, I met Minxi's gaze. He was staring at my hand resting on the prince's arm, a look of loss in his eyes, as if I were the one who had broken faith. Everyone sat down. Except for my sister, everyone tried hard to make conversation, so the atmosphere remained passable. Minister Min is still at the Hanlin Academy? The prince asked casually. Yes. Grand Secretary Yang's intention is for me to gain experience for 2 years before being sent out for a provincial posting. Minxi's tone held a note of pride. After 2 postings, I should be able to return to the capital. I lowered my eyes to drink tea. Minxi indeed had reason to be proud. He was the top graduate, a rising star, and under the patronage of Grand Secretary Yang, the chief minister. As long as he didn't make mistakes, he would surely have a place in the court in 10 years. There were even rumors that Grand Secretary Yang intended to groom him as his successor. This was also why my sister favored him. Compared to being the wife of an idle prince, the wife of a powerful minister held more status. But now I felt that, given Minxi's brains, he wouldn't become a powerful minister, nor achieve much. Not bad, the prince nodded. And you, your highness? Any recent plans? Minxi asked. His Majesty wishes to renovate the altar. Throughout history, such projects have been supervised by imperial princes. I wonder if your highness has submitted a petition. The atmosphere instantly chilled. My sister shot me a smug look. I am blind, the prince said nonchalantly. I can't do anything. Resting well is my main priority. Minxi glanced at me, his tone meaningful. Indeed, your highness should rest more. I interrupted Minxi, asking the prince, Your highness, is the soup too salty? The prince raised an eyebrow, immediately understanding my meaning. He smiled. I am not salty. Then perhaps it's my brother-in-law who is salty? I looked at Minxi with a faint mocking smile. By salty, I of course meant idle. Having too much free time to meddle in others' affairs. Minxi's face flushed bright red. The prince's lips quirked up, a hint of concealed smugness in his eyes. He tilted his head and said to me softly, My lady, I'd like to eat some fish. All right. I focused on picking out the bones for the prince. He rested his chin on his hand, looking in my direction. Though he couldn't see, his expression seemed quite pleased. My sister didn't dare speak. Minxi buried himself in his drink. This fish is excellent, the prince said. I suddenly felt that the prince might not be as solemn and proper as he appeared. After the meal, I went back to my room to fetch something. Coming out from the small courtyard, I saw Minxi standing under the lush peach tree. Seeing me, his face wore a sorrowful expression. Ali, I'm sorry. I didn't want to talk to him and tried to walk around him. I did care for you. But no matter what, the mistake has been made. I wronged you. He chased after me to explain. I'll do anything to make it up to you. I stopped and looked at him. I want you to immediately commit suicide to atone for your crime. He was stunned. Then keep your mouth shut and hide this crime of deceiving the emperor well. I didn't look at him again and walked through the path to the front courtyard. Regarding Minshi, I had felt a flutter after our betrothal. He had talent and looks and said he was fond of me. During those long sleepless nights, I had secretly fantasized about our future. But that shallow affection vanished the moment the bridal veil was lifted 2 nights ago. Some people aren't worth it. My lady. The prince was waiting for me at the gate. Quicken my pace. He reached out his hand to me, wanting me to hold it. I am not familiar with the paths in your home. I trouble you, my lady. I took the prince's hand, and we walked out together. We walked slowly. The prince seemed to be in very good spirits. On the return journey, for some reason, the single-person sedan chairs were replaced by a carriage. The prince explained to me. The sedan chair carriers had family matters. I let them go. The prince's mansion might lack carriers, but the Jiang residence had them. The thought flashed through my mind, but I just smiled and agreed. Where is the footstool? The prince stood by the carriage. The driver and his attendant Liren stood like logs, unmoving. I had to step forward and help the prince into the carriage. The prince was in high spirits, even buying pastries on the way. Seeing him cheerful, I tentatively asked, Your Highness, have you ever been deceived? If someone deceived you, what would you do? It depends on the person and the matter, he said. What if it's someone not close, and the deception involves a serious matter? The prince was calm as a breeze. Then I would definitely make them pay the price. Oh! I was so frightened I crushed the pastry in my hand. I remembered what my mother told me before I left. Before the prince discovers the truth, have a child. When the time comes, for the child's sake and face, he will keep this secret. It seemed I could only follow my mother's advice. For the sake of my entire family's lives, having a child must happen as soon as possible. What are you thinking about? The prince suddenly asked me. The pastry is delicious, I said, my face slightly warm, afraid he would detect my thoughts. I quickly changed the subject. Will the 7th prince come today? The prince frowned. My lady likes my 7th brother? He's clever and quirky, very cute. Oh, he'll probably come, he said. In the afternoon, the 7th prince arrived right at dinner time. He clung to me, talking, playing chess, and in the evening he insisted on taking a walk in the garden. His Highness has difficulty moving. Perhaps we should skip the walk, I said, not wanting to tire myself out. I needed to conserve energy for later tonight. My lady, I do not have difficulty moving, the prince said, rising smoothly. Let's go. A walk. I looked at him in surprise. I'll hold second brother's hand with sister-in-law, the 7th prince said. Then we won't be afraid he'll fall. The 3 of us walked one circle after another. After half an hour, the 7th prince started complaining his feet hurt. Second brother, I can't walk anymore. The prince called Liren over. Take him back. The 7th prince, pouting and reluctant, was carried away. My lady, I am not tired, the prince said. Let's continue. All right. I hadn't expected the prince to be so enthusiastic about walking. I had no choice but to continue holding his hand, strolling through the garden. But I really wanted to go back and rest early. We needed to consummate the marriage tonight. His health wasn't great to begin with. If he got too tired, it would surely have an effect. What is my lady thinking about? The prince suddenly asked. I'm worried you might be tired, I said with a smile. Shall we go back and rest? The prince tilted his head. His gaze seemed to truly fall on my face, carrying a trace of scrutiny. I felt guilty again and hurriedly changed the subject. In the end, the tired one wasn't the prince but me. After washing up, I forced myself to stay alert. Your Highness, let's rest. I had placed his pillow on the bed, but unfortunately he couldn't see it, so I could only hint with my words. All right. The prince poured himself some tea to drink. I hurriedly lay down on the inner side of the bed, but in the blink of an eye I fell asleep. I woke in the morning to find the prince gone. Suejuan. Suejuan. I hurriedly got out of bed, lifted the blankets, and looked at the clean sheets in frustration. It seems we didn't consummate. What should we do? Suejuan was the same age as me, and didn't understand these matters. I should have asked mother what needs to be done to consummate a marriage. Shall I secretly go outside the mansion and ask one of the older matrons? She suggested. I thought that was acceptable. There's no harm in asking when you don't know. At noon, Tuajuan returned carrying a bag of loaches, mysteriously informing me. That old matron said this is good for men. These are freshly bought today, Your Highness. Please eat more. During dinner, I served the prince several pieces of loach. He took a bite and raised an eyebrow. Why think of buying this? The prince asked, addressing Wang Momo. Miss Tuajuan brought them back. Her ladyship instructed the kitchen to prepare them for you, Your Highness. Wang Momo replied. Your Highness has never eaten such coarse food. Shall I take it away? Wang Momo gave me a meaningful look. She clearly knew the reputed effects of loach. I wasn't sure if the prince knew. I suddenly regretted having the kitchen prepare this dish today. I was being too obvious. I bowed my head to drink my soup, my face too red to lift. It's fine. The flavor is quite good, the prince said, again looking in my direction. Thank you, my lady. I forced a smile. After the noon meal, I intended to rest, but the prince had brewed tea under a tree. It's been a long time since I practiced swordplay. Would my lady like to watch? I was taken aback. Why would he suddenly want to practice swordplay out of the blue? Wasn't his health supposed to be poor? The prince took a sword and began to move with it. His movements were beautiful, flowing like clouds and water. I remembered before he lost his sight, he was known for being both cultured and martial, exceptionally talented. Once my father came home after drinking a little and told us that the prince had been poisoned precisely because he was too outstanding, overshadowing the crown prince. I sighed softly. Born into the imperial family, one enjoys fine clothes and food, but the troubles, responsibilities, and risks borne are also far greater than for ordinary people like us. When the prince finished, I brought him a cup of tea. I'll have someone prepare hot water for you to wash up. Thank you, the prince nodded. Sitting with me under the tree, he suddenly asked, Your birthday is in a few days, isn't it? How would you like to celebrate? I had forgotten. I hadn't expected him to remember. A bowl of longevity noodles will suffice. It's a minor birthday, not important. The prince didn't say anything more. Back in our rooms, he went to bathe. I noticed his change of clothes was still outside. I opened the door to call Liren, but he, who usually stood guard outside, was inexplicably absent today. Should I take them in? I hesitated outside the bathing room. We haven't even consummated. Would he think me forward? There was no sound from inside. Gritting my teeth, I knocked. Your Highness, shall I bring in your change of clothes? He didn't reply immediately. In that moment, I already regretted my impulsiveness. But before I could react, he said softly, I trouble you, my lady. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The prince was sitting in the tub, his back to me. His shoulders, rising above the rim, were broad and straight. His skin seemed smooth. I glanced hastily and averted my eyes. My lady. The prince's voice was soft. Just place the clothes within my reach. Yes. I kept my head down as I approached, my heart pounding wildly. Just as I was about to retreat, the prince suddenly said, My lady, take your time. I wasn't sure if I imagined it, but his voice seemed to carry a hint of laughter. I felt even more flustered, not even daring to acknowledge him. When he came out, he held a towel, feeling around for me. My lady. I'm here. I had been planning to find an excuse to leave, but since he called, I had to respond. He said, I trouble my lady to call Wang Momo for me. I asked without thinking, What do you need, Your Highness? He shook the towel in his hand and pointed to his hair. A warmth spread in my chest. I can help you dry it. He laughed, a light, bright laugh. Good. I trouble you, my lady. The prince's hair was very fine, smooth as satin when combed. I wanted to talk to him, thinking we should become more familiar. Does Wang Momo usually attend to Your Highness's daily needs? Wang Momo and Liren attend to me, the prince said, sounding somewhat troubled. Wang Momo is getting old. She mentioned some time ago she wished to retire to the countryside. Liren also needs to start a family. I intend to select 2 new people for close service. My lady, please also keep an eye out, the prince said. Wang Momo was only 40 and already retiring? But then, this was a prince's household, treatment was more generous. Oh, I pondered for a moment. Then let Wang Momo go retire. I can also handle some of the close serving duties. This way I could quickly become closer to him. Then consummating the marriage would happen naturally. The prince paused and turned his head towards me. Taking care of me can be taxing. We are husband and wife. Even if it's taxing, it's my duty, I said softly. Besides, your highness is quite self-sufficient. It doesn't look too taxing to me. The prince was silent for a long moment. Just when I thought he wouldn't speak again, he suddenly said, All right. Then we won't look for anyone for now. I'll trouble you, my lady. Wang Momo seemed eager to leave the prince's mansion. We had only discussed it at noon, and by evening, she had packed her bags and came to kowtow and bid me farewell. I wondered why she was leaving at this hour. Couldn't she wait one more night? But I wasn't close to her, so it wasn't my place to ask more. Thank you for your hard work all these years taking care of His Highness, I said, having Tsuejuan reward her with a bag of coins. The prince's mansion will always be your home. You are welcome back anytime. Wang Momo choked up. I've been taking care of His Highness since his birth. I spent the whole afternoon writing down his preferences in this booklet. She handed the booklet to Tsuejuan. From now on, I must trouble you, princess consort. So that's why she was leaving now. She'd spent the afternoon recording the prince's likes and dislikes. Wang Momo left, looking back every few steps. While I was giving instructions for dinner, Liren also came to find me. This lowly one must return home to get married. It will take about half a month. I was very surprised. Was the date just set? There had been no mention of it before. Not exactly. It was decided last year, he said. I didn't press further, also rewarded him with a bag of money, and urged him to return early. His Highness cannot do without you. Liren gave me a somewhat aggrieved look and nodded in agreement. He bowed and took his leave. As he walked away, I heard him mutter, So rushed. Where am I supposed to find someone to marry now? What? I didn't catch it clearly. Nothing. This lowly one takes his leave. Liren scurried away. With them gone, every minute detail of the prince's personal care fell to me. Even tasks like writing letters on his behalf in the study became my duty. I hesitated. Am I suitable for such matters? The prince smiled. I recall the Jiang sisters were both known as talented ladies in the capital. I had no choice but to brace myself and sit opposite him, reading letters for him and drafting replies. Regarding Minister Kai's letter, the prince paused, replied to him, If he wishes to return to the capital, it would be better to wait until after the rainy season, to avoid potential floods during that time which might neglect his duties if he is still in post. My lady, do you like rose cakes? I shook my head. Then ask him to send some rose cakes, along with some of the newest fabrics and hair ornaments for ladies. Brother Liu has reached the frontier, the prince sighed. Reply to him, I am well and wish him safety. I acknowledged. My lady, do you like milk candies? He asked me. I've never tried them. Then ask him to bring back some milk candies. My hand holding the brush paused slightly. Your Highness need not go to such lengths, I said quietly. Everything can be bought here in the capital. His kindness was meant for my sister. If he were to find out later that his affections were misplaced, he would surely be both heartbroken and angry. He suddenly walked over, bent down near me, his expression friendly and smiling. Just a moment ago my lady said we are husband and wife. There's no need for formality. I had to laugh. You're right. I overthought. He straightened up. My lady, would you like to go out? The peony gardens are in bloom recently. Shall I accompany you to see the flowers? In previous years my sister and I would always go, but this year I was reluctant. I was afraid of meeting acquaintances who might recognize us. But I didn't want to miss an opportunity to be with him. People develop feelings through interaction. More time together creates more memories and deeper bonds. The peony garden wasn't close. We took the same carriage. When we arrived, there weren't many visitors yet. Wearing a veil hat, I held the prince's hand and wandered among the flowers. My mood lightened. This is dear leek. I introduced the flowers to the prince. This is male red. Although the prince couldn't see, he listened very attentively. What is the one we have at home called? The one at home is red ant, I said with a laugh. My lady is so meticulous, the prince said. Tomorrow we shall acquire some other varieties for home, so my lady can enjoy the flowers in her leisure time. Talking about peonies sparked my interest. Really? Could I also grow some camellias? The prince seemed infected by my enthusiasm. My lady, the prince's mansion is your home. You could even raise cows, and no one would dare say anything. I burst out laughing. Then I really will raise cows, the prince said. Then I shall build you a cowshed. I laughed for a long time. He looked at me and laughed too. After a pause he said, on second thought I might have to object to the cowshed. Too smelly. How about I build you a greenhouse instead? A greenhouse would be wonderful. I've always wanted one. He smiled, pursing his lips. I had wanted a greenhouse at my parents' home, but the house was small, crowded for the family, with no spare space for me to indulge in flowers and plants. The prince tilted his head, also smiling at me, as if infected by my joy. What other flowers does my lady like? I'll help you find them all. I really did list quite a few for him, then felt I had gotten carried away. If only we could find a hexagonal red. What a coincidence. A friend of mine has one. Really? Of course. Overjoyed, I hugged him. Thank you, Your Highness. His body stiffened. Although he didn't hug me back, he seemed very pleased, laughing continuously. My mood improved even more. Then I suddenly thought of Min Shi. If I had married him, he definitely wouldn't have built me a greenhouse, because his family's garden was also very small. Thinking of this, I sobered up. The sword of deceiving the emperor still hung over my head, and here I was, feeling fortunate to have married into the prince's mansion and gotten the greenhouse I'd always dreamed of. Is my lady unhappy? The prince asked me. I was startled, amazed by his sharpness. Even blind, he could sense changes in others' moods. I was about to explain when I heard someone call out, Jiang Yan! Jiang Yan, what a coincidence meeting you here today. It was my sister's good friend Zhao Tsongyu. Her father served as a censor in the court of censors. Zhao Tsongyu often came to my house to find my sister, but she was never particularly warm towards me. I felt a returning squeeze on my hand and realized I had unconsciously tightened my grip on the prince's hand. My heart jumped and I quickly relaxed my hold. I turned around, imitating my sister's tone to greet Zhao Tsongyu. My respects to Your Highness, Princess Consort. Zhao Tsongyu's personality was much like my sister's, blunt and impulsive. After paying her respects, she immediately started talking to me. It's the first time I've seen you wear a hat. I smiled. The sun is strong. Just shielding myself. Oh, Zhao Tsongyu glanced at the prince, presumably thinking he couldn't see, and leaned close to my ear. Is the Prince of Ning good to you? I nodded. He. Zhao Tsongyu lowered her voice. I saw Min Shi arguing with your sister yesterday. I was worried about you. Luckily, you didn't marry Min Shi. Let me tell you, he has a lover on the outside. Your sister is going to have her hands full. I was stunned. Min Shi had someone else? He prided himself on being refined. How could he do something so sordid? You always used to say your sister was lucky. In my opinion, her luck isn't as good as yours. He. I forced a smile in reply. I didn't know about Min Shi's situation. I'll have to ask my parents when I return home. For such a thing to happen right after the wedding was truly excessive. Do ask, Zhao Tsongyu said. Then, hearing her companions call her, she bid us farewell. After a few steps, she seemed to remember something and came back. I'll visit you at the prince's mansion another day. Saying this, she took a deep look at the prince, lifted her skirts and ran off. I watched her retreating figure and began to worry. There would be many more situations like this in the future. Over time, paper can't wrap fire. What's wrong? The prince squeezed my hand. Did something happen to your sister? Do you need to go check on her? Before I could seek out my sister, I ran into her at the entrance to the peony garden. After exchanging greetings, my sister pulled me aside. What are you and the prince doing here? We came early this morning, I said, frowning. Don't tell me Zhao Tsongyu invited you? My sister nodded. Are you insane? I felt like prying open her skull to see what was inside. Zhang Li and Zhao Tsongyu aren't close. She invites you and you just come. My sister was defiant. I wanted to see the flowers myself. Besides, I came every year before. Why can't I come this year? I trembled with anger, gripping her wrist and pulling her further away. Tell me, when you plotted to switch grooms, did you say anything to Zhao Tsongyu? I suspected Zhao Tsongyu had done this on purpose. She had someone invite my sister right after running into me. But she wasn't at all close with Zhang Li, who was supposed to have married Min Shi. There was no reason for her to invite her. Of course not. My sister's eyes darted around. I kept it from even father, mother, and brother. Why would I tell anyone else? Having been sisters for 16 years, I knew what she was thinking just from the shift in her eyes. Jiang Yan. I gritted my teeth. If there weren't so many people around, I'd slap you to death right now. Zhang Li, now that you're a princess consort, you think you're something, don't you? Go ahead, slap me. Believe me, I'll tell the Prince of Ning right now. Jiang Yan thrust out her chest and stuck out her neck. That was her nature. Once her temper flared, she threw all caution to the wind. I was so angry I felt dizzy. Have you lost your mind completely? This is deceiving the Emperor. Deceiving the Emperor. I couldn't help choking up. Think of father, think of mother, think of elder brother, think of little brother. I beg you, please wake up. Jiang Yan looked away and didn't speak. I knew she had heard me, so I softened my tone. Go home quickly. Before I can properly appease the prince, don't you dare step outside again. Fine, I know. Jiang Yan shot me a glare. So annoying. She stormed off out of the garden gate. She left, but my anxiety didn't lessen one bit. I quickly looked around and sure enough, spotted a flash of a magenta-red skirt disappearing behind a corridor pillar. My heart turned cold. Zhao Tsongyu knew the switch had succeeded. She knew I was Zhang Li. I called Suizhuan over and tasked her with this matter. First, find my brother. Have him find a way to control sister. If necessary, tie her up at home. I understand, miss, Suizhuan said. Even Suizhuan knew to be anxious and afraid. Yet Jiang Yan remained as dense as a block of wood. I truly wondered where all the books she'd read and the etiquette she'd learned over the years had gone. My lady, the prince called me. I hurried over and took his hand. My sister had some questions and we talked a bit longer. I kept you waiting, your highness. The prince shook his head. It's no trouble. We boarded the carriage, and the prince didn't let go of my hand. I gazed out through the thin curtain at the bustling streets, lost in thought. My sister's nature couldn't be locked away. But I looked at the prince and sighed inwardly. Even if I were to conceive, it would take 2 months to know. What if Zhao Tsongyu exposed us within those 2 months? When that time came, would the prince forgive my family? My lady, the prince said softly, has something happened at home? Do you need my help? It's just a minor issue, I said lightly. If there is anything, tell me. We are husband and wife. No matter the size of the matter, we should discuss it together and face it together, the prince said gently. My heart softened. I almost confessed the entire switch to him, but the words reached my lips and I held them back. Just a little longer. The prince worked with high efficiency. Once I selected the location for the greenhouse, craftsmen began arriving one after another. The prince and I became busy together, discussing details every day. I discovered our tastes were very similar. No matter what peculiar or whimsical idea I proposed, it found agreement from him. How about hanging a painting here? I asked him. Of course, the prince said with a smile. And a thin white silk curtain at the entrance? I nodded. The wind stirs the curtain, the floral scent is subtle, and we can brew a pot of tea and sit here. Marvelous. We both laughed. 2 days later, my brother came to see me at noon. Brother said sister had been well behaved, staying at home and not going out. Brother also said the woman Min Shi had been seeing had been dealt with. It was a dalliance from a few years ago. There was some affection, but it didn't lead to an irreparable mistake. Don't worry. He meant Min Shi hadn't consummated the relationship with that woman, so ending it was that. How are things with the prince? Brother asked me. He was too embarrassed to ask if we had consummated, but the worry in his eyes was unmistakable. We get along very well, I said quietly. But we still haven't consummated. He couldn't see. Even if I wore less, I couldn't tempt him. I had also hinted once verbally, but whether he didn't hear or was unwilling, He hadn't responded. I couldn't just pounce on him, and besides I didn't know how. Brother, I whispered, could you secretly hire a courtesan for me? To teach me? Brother rapped me on the head. No. You are a daughter of the Jiang family. You cannot associate with such people. Even if we die, we must die with dignity. Brother left, deeply dismayed. I heaved a heavy sigh. My lady, the prince called me from the garden. I hurried over. The prince asked, has official Jiang left? I confirmed. He asked me, was it about the Min family matters? No, he just came to see me, I deflected. Your Highness, let's go look at the timber. A look of disappointment flashed across his face, but he didn't press further. On the 7th day of the greenhouse construction, someone came from the palace. Consort Liang summoned the prince and me. It was my first time meeting Consort Liang, but my sister had met her once. That time my sister returned very displeased, saying Consort Liang was harsh. Because she disliked people wearing scented powder, she had publicly reprimanded my sister in front of many people. I had also heard about Consort Liang's character. Indeed, she had a bad temper, and her relationship with her son was also poor. I heard that in the 2 years since the prince lost his sight, he only went to pay his respects on festivals. Usually, he neither participated in court affairs nor entered the palace. Entering the Changchun Palace, I saw Consort Liang. She was beautiful, but her eyes and brows indeed carried a sharp, difficult-to-get-along with edge. Sit. Your foot injury is healed? She asked me. I confirmed. Consort Liang gestured for me to sit beside her. Once I sat, she examined me carefully. Somehow, you seem different from last time. My heart jumped. I think I've gained a little weight. I had deliberately done my eyebrows and eyes today to mimic my sister's usual style. Could Consort Liang, having only seen her once, tell the difference? It's not about weight. Your expression is more docile now, Consort Liang said. This is better. Much more pleasing to the eye. I assented. Have you two been quarreling? Consort Liang changed the subject abruptly, giving the prince a meaningful glance. The prince spoke first. We are fine. No need for mother to worry. Then why haven't you consummated the marriage? Consort Liang suddenly raised her voice. Is it that you can't or she won't? The prince's face darkened. You concern yourself too much. He stood up. My lady, let's go. Songjingi. This consort is not finished speaking. The prince ignored her, reaching his hand out to me. I hadn't expected them to argue. I hurriedly stood to follow the prince. Consort Liang said angrily, let him go. Jiang Yin stays. This consort is not finished. I was caught in a dilemma. It is I who cannot, the prince said stiffly. What else does mother wish to know? Consort Liang shot to her feet. The matrons in Changchun Palace swiftly closed the hall doors and covered the windows. Your eyes are useless and your body is too? Consort Liang stopped in front of the prince. The crown prince already has 4 sons. Can't you be more ambitious? The prince gave a cold laugh. How you went blind, you don't investigate, you don't seek revenge, fine. But now you're married, and you don't even dare to consummate and have a son. Songjingi, you are too pathetic. You are a coward. I stared at Consort Liang dumbfounded. I had never imagined she would attribute the prince's reluctance to consummate to such a reason. Think what you will, the prince said coldly. His voice wasn't just cold. It held a heartbreaking disappointment. I stepped forward and took his hand, wanting to offer some comfort. He started, then returned the grip on my hand. I give you 3 months, Consort Liang said, this time addressing me. If you don't conceive, this consort will find him concubines. 1 won't do, then 10. 10 won't do, then 100. I opened my mouth but said nothing. I repeat, the prince said word by word. My affairs are my own to decide. He pulled open the door and led me out of Changchun Palace. Only when standing under the sunlight did I feel warmth return to my body. Perhaps because of the argument between the prince and Consort Liang. That afternoon the crown prince sent an invitation. It was for the full-month celebration of his 4th son. I prepared a gift and asked the prince if I could not go. I'm not going either, the prince said casually. Sending the gift is enough. I breathed a sigh of relief and had Suejuan send a message to my sister, forbidding her from attending the Crown Prince's banquet with Min Shi. In the afternoon, the Crown Prince's steward came in person to invite us. The prince refused again. The steward left with a dark expression. The next day, I received news that my sister had gone with Min Shi after all. She's lost her mind. I grabbed Suejuan's hand. Go find her now. Tell her to return to our parents' home. I went back to my parents' home and waited for half the day. My sister didn't return. Furious, I smashed her favorite vase. Mother cried and held me. I'll go find her this afternoon. I'll hit her for you. Mother, I said. What is wrong with her? Does she want me dead? Who wants you dead? My sister charged in. The Crown Prince sent an invitation, specifically inviting us as a couple. How could I not go? I slapped her across the face. My sister was also enraged. You hit me again? You think I won't fight back? Mother and Suejuan worked together to separate us. I rolled up my sleeve, revealing a scar on my arm. Are you really my sister? You caused this disaster with your reckless switch, and I'm the one trying to clean up your mess. Can't you think of me for once? Do you forget this scar? My sister froze, the anger instantly draining from her face. I forgot about that, she said, trying to come closer to support me, mumbling. I really forgot. You should have reminded me first. I was so angry I collapsed into a chair. That scar was from a sword slash by the Crown Prince. On our wedding night, the prince asked me how I knew he was good-tempered. I mentioned that time at Zanhuan when a waiter spilled soup on him and he didn't get angry. My sister and I were also there that day. The Crown Prince was drunk. Passing by our private room, he saw me and, taken by my looks, tried to drag me away. I hit him with a teacup. He drew his sword, intending to kill me. Coincidentally, the Prince of Ning passed our door. He couldn't see, but he heard the Crown Prince's voice and called out, Is Royal Brother here too? The Crown Prince, afraid the prince would discover his misconduct, suppressed his anger. What are you doing here? The waiter was clumsy and splashed my robes, the prince said somewhat awkwardly, pulling at his wet gown. Who is Royal Brother with? It sounds lively. The Crown Prince examined the prince's clothes, the wariness in his eyes fading. He casually tossed his sword aside and left with the prince as if nothing had happened. I was rescued and went home through the back door. The Crown Prince was drunk that day and probably didn't know which family's daughter I was. Or perhaps he knew but didn't want the matter to blow up and ruin his reputation, so he let it drop. But I held a deep resentment. My sister and the whole family knew about it. How can you be sure that if the Crown Prince saw your face, he wouldn't remember that day? I asked my sister. I said I was wrong. My sister also began to cry. And yesterday I didn't see the Crown Prince. The women and men were separated. My sister was also afraid, remembering that day's events. Jiangyan, I hope you grow a brain. Right now, every step we take is like treading on thin ice. If not for the family, at least think of yourself. My sister muttered. Actually, I regret it too. Mother and I both looked at her. She hung her head, sobbing. Min Shi is not a good match. He has women outside, and his character isn't as upright as he appears. If I had known he was like this, I would never have switched. She mumbled on. I want a divorce, but it would be a loss of face. And I don't want him to have it easy. Even if we divorce, I want to make his life hell. Mother and I stared at her, speechless. You should thank me for switching, she glared at me. If you had married him, you would have endured silently, bullied by him every day. So don't hate me. We're even. Mother sent the family steward to accompany my sister back to her in-laws' home. The steward reported my sister's activities to me daily. She behaved for 3 days without going out, but on the 4th day, she accepted Zhao Tsongyu's visiting card and invited her over. I had the steward warn my sister. She was dismissive. A day later, the steward reported that my sister had quarreled with Min Shi and scratched his face. The young master's mistress outside is pregnant, the steward sighed. The eldest young lady disagreed with the young master taking a concubine. They argued, then it came to blows. The more I heard, the more my head ached. Didn't you remind her to have elder brother intervene? Min Shi taking a concubine so soon after the wedding showed he had no regard for the Zhang family, or even the prince of Ning's mansion. So, elder brother's intervention was appropriate. The young master was the one who approached the son-in-law first. The son-in-law originally agreed, but for some reason, the eldest young lady later ordered someone to poison that woman. The son-in-law found out, called the eldest young lady vicious, and angrily insisted on bringing the woman into the household. I was taken aback. My sister going to beat someone up was in character, but poisoning? That wasn't something she would conceive of. I frowned. Where did she get that kind of poison? That particular poison was only found in the pleasure quarters. Respectable families couldn't obtain it. The steward shook her head, saying she didn't know. Go tell elder brother to keep an eye on Zhao Tsongyu. That poison most likely came from her, I said, lowering my voice. And don't let Zhao Tsongyu meet with sister anymore. The steward assented and left. My lady, the prince entered. I put away my thoughts and went to greet him. He frowned. Why are your hands so cold? I helped him sit down. The weather is getting hot. I was thinking of having ice brought into the room. The prince paused but didn't speak. What is it? I asked him. Is there something you wish to tell me? He asked. The tip of my nose tingled with a mix of anger and self-pity. But I couldn't predict his reaction if he knew. I couldn't take that risk. It's nothing. The prince released my hand and drank his tea with a neutral expression. I didn't know what to say either. After a moment he sighed, put down his teacup and patted my head. Are we husband and wife? I don't know why, but all my bottled-up grievance surged at once, overflowing so quickly I couldn't stop the sob that broke out of me. Yes. As long as you say so. He pulled me into his embrace and gently patted my back. Don't be afraid. They won't live much longer. My heart jumped, but the prince said no more. 2 days later was mine and my sister's birthday. I received a gift and a visiting card from Zhao Tsongyu. I refused her. Have you found out? I met with my brother. Does the Zhao family have no vulnerabilities? We needed to prepare in advance, in case the Zhao family used this matter against us. Yes, brother said. If their family dares to speak out, father and I can make sure they meet a swift and utter end. I nodded. First, send mother and little brother to Jiangnan. I plan to confess to the prince in the next few days. All right. Father, brother, and I all felt we could no longer keep this secret. Whatever punishment the prince decided, we would accept. But unexpectedly, a couple of days later, Zhao Tsongyu's father was implicated for abusing the law for personal gain. He was convicted and sentenced, and the Zhao family relocated away from the capital. Our whole family was surprised by this outcome. It's too coincidental, brother muttered. We didn't even need to act. I found it rather strange. Let's tell him during the Dragon Boat Festival, brother suggested. You come home for the meal, and our whole family will apologize to the prince and beg his forgiveness. Mother said. I see the prince treats Ali well. Perhaps he won't pursue it. I agreed. On the day of the Dragon Boat Festival, I returned to my parental home to deliver festival gifts, and encountered Min Shi again in the backyard. He stopped me, saying he regretted everything. My sister was too temperamental, not as steady and clever as I. Zhongli, I know you and the prince haven't consummated your marriage, Min Shi said. The prince was supposed to marry Jiang Yan anyway. Why don't you and your sister switch back? If you switch back, all the conflicts and dangers will be resolved. I stared at Min Shi, unable to believe my ears. You're unwilling to consummate with the prince because you're saving yourself for me, aren't you? Min Shi tried to grab my hand, his eyes filled with intense emotion. Zhongli, don't be afraid. Once we switch back, the things you fear will vanish. Min Shi. I picked up stones from the ground and hurled them at him wildly. Have you read all your sage books for nothing? What do you take the Zhang family for? What do you take us sisters for? I broke Min Shi's head open. Blood streamed down his face. Suizhuan, go get my brother and father. I pointed at Min Shi. If he doesn't apologize to me and my sister today, let's all perish together. Why call for father and brother? We sisters can deal with him ourselves today. My sister came running, snatching a bamboo pole supporting melon vines along the way. She started beating Min Shi over the head. You passed the top exam and think you're so great? Take a look at yourself in the mirror. How dare you run wild in my home? If I don't beat you to death today, my name isn't Jiang Yan. My sister chased Min Shi all over the yard. Min Shi, wiping the blood from his face, fled from my sister's pursuit. My anger dissipated and I couldn't help laughing. But when I turned around and saw the person not far away, my laughter died. Your Highness, I said softly. I sat before the prince, carefully placing a cup of cool tea in his hand. He didn't drink it, his face stern. I've told you everything, I said quietly. Kill or slice me, I submit to your judgment. Even as I said this, I sat close to him, cautiously tugging at his sleeve. He thumped the teacup down. Did you hit Min Shi earlier or not? Ah. I nodded. I hit him once. His focus was strange. Your aim is poor. I'll take you to practice next time. Okay, all right. I nodded, trying to gauge his thoughts. He remained stern. Are you very upset that you didn't marry him? I shook my head. No. I'm relieved, truly relieved. I'm grateful I married you, Your Highness, and not him. The corner of his mouth twitched upwards. Really? Really? 1,000 times true. Sensing he wasn't intent on punishment, I quickly seized the opportunity, grasping his hand. I like you, Your Highness. His lips quirked, but he suppressed the smile and withdrew his hand slightly. I haven't felt your liking. I asked you so many times if something was troubling you, and you never said. I didn't dare. You said you weren't afraid of me, he said. It's not fear exactly. More like guilt. I looked at him. I'm sorry. Can you forgive us? He brushed my hand away, but not forcefully. I heard that before the marriage you liked Min Shi. I felt guilty, lowering my voice. I didn't really like him that much. It was just fantasies about the future after the betrothal. Your Highness liked my sister too, didn't you? I muttered. I was worried your affections were misplaced, and you'd be even angrier. He laughed, exasperated. When did I ever like your sister? You were supposed to marry her. Being good to me was being good to her, wasn't it? I said quietly. I don't mind that much, really. Let's be fair. Let's not bring up the past. He looked torn between laughter and tears. When have you ever heard me call you Jiang Yan? I thought back and shook my head. He truly never had used that name. So, you knew from the first day? I stared at him. And you didn't say anything? If I had spoken up and had you switched back, wouldn't that have just handed you over to Min Shi on a silver platter? He shot back. I was speechless, staring at him. Why? Why would you think that? As soon as I asked, I understood. He was a prince. If he discovered the mistake in marriage, given his status, he would have to make a decisive judgment. But switching my sister and me back was impossible for him, given that she and Min Shi had, and being deceived by my entire family, his pride wouldn't allow him to simply endure it, nor would his status permit it. So, the best course of action was to pretend not to know and grudgingly accept it. But that logic rested on one simple premise, that he didn't actually mind marrying me. So, it didn't matter to you whether you married me or my sister? I asked him. You knew I was Zhang Li and just accepted it happily? So the reason he hadn't consummated the marriage was that he knew I wasn't my sister, but he didn't like me either, so he kept delaying. A sour feeling rose in my heart, though I couldn't quite define it. He turned his gaze towards me. Do you think I am the kind of person who doesn't care whom I marry? I shook my head. No, he wasn't. But then, I still couldn't make sense of it. Your actions don't follow logic. If you care whom you marry, why stay silent after discovering the mistake? Unless, from the very beginning he had wanted to marry me. The prince suddenly stood up. It's getting late. Let's go have lunch. He walked out, stepping over the threshold and down the stairs. I followed him. After about a dozen steps, a thought struck me. Stop. I blocked his path. He halted. Second young lady, what are your orders? I pointed at my own clothes. What color are my clothes today? He had walked too smoothly just now. I suspected he could see. My distrust of him suddenly flared. I am blind, he said gravely. I cannot see. I waved my hand in front of his eyes, but he showed no reaction. Truly blind, I said. He took my hand. Let's go. My sister and Min Shi returned to the Min residence. I told my family that the prince knew about the switch. My parents and brother wanted to kowtow and apologize, but the prince reassured them. The matter was thus laid to rest. From now on, the princess consort is Jiang Yan. We will guard this secret with our lives, Mother said. After returning, I remained suspicious that the prince was deceiving me. His steps that afternoon had been too sure. Your Highness, I'm going to bathe. He made a sound of acknowledgement, sitting at the table drinking tea, showing no reaction. After bathing, I deliberately paraded before him wearing only a thin layer of gauze. He still showed no reaction. Annoyed, I brought a stool and sat directly in front of him. Your Highness, I leaned close to study him. Are you really blind? He remained unresponsive. I don't believe you. I let my outer garment slip off. Though his expression didn't change, the tips of his ears and his cheeks visibly reddened. A moment later, he actually started bleeding from the nose. I stared at him, stunned. He stood up quickly and retreated into the washroom. Songjingi, come out here. I pounded on the door. Explain yourself. From behind the door, his muffled voice came. Please put your outer robe on first. I put it on ages ago. Do you think I'm stupid? I said angrily. He opened the door. Our eyes met for a second before he averted his. I sneered. Your Highness's eyes are well acted, but your nose betrayed you. He coughed awkwardly. Still won't admit it? I wasn't really trying to hide it from you, he said softly. The timing wasn't right yet. I was so angry I laughed. He straightened my collar. Now we're even. I don't think so. I shot him a look. You never explained your words at my home this morning. He looked around, picked up his teacup again, avoiding the subject. If you care whom you marry, why did you stay silent when you saw it was me under the bridal veil? He hung his head, fiddling with the teacup, muttering. Does someone who finds a treasure shout it from the rooftops? What? I looked at him. I didn't hear clearly. Say that again. He suddenly extinguished the lamp. My lady, let's retire early. No, I won't. Pushed him. I have a terrible temper. You saw me throwing stones at Min Shi this afternoon. I can do the same to you. He kissed me. Breath stolen, my legs went weak, and I could only let him hold me. A long time later, he whispered in my ear. Before you hinted every day, even bought me loaches to fortify me. He sighed. But I was afraid you were just yielding to circumstances, not truly willing to be with me. You have no idea how difficult it was for me. Little liar, now you know all my secrets. I can never let you go. I beat against his chest, but it was like trying to move a mountain. Songjing, I woke the next morning to see the prince's face. I glared at him. My lady, I was wrong. Wrong about what? I asked. Wrong for savoring the experience too much and tiring you out. I couldn't help laughing at his answer. He traced the scar on my arm, frowning. I hurriedly covered it with my sleeve and pulled him up for breakfast. From that day on, all barriers between us vanished. His true nature emerged. Talkative and clingy when alone, but playing the helpless, sightless prince whenever others were present. Suejuan, behind the prince's back, whispered to me. His Highness's eyes light up every time he sees you. Good thing there are no outsiders, or they'd surely discover he's faking blindness. What blind man has eyes that bright? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Soon it was July. The greenhouse was completed, and the prince and I busied ourselves every day with flowers and plants. An invitation arrived from the palace. The empress suddenly decided to hold a 100-day celebration for the crown prince's fourth son. Do they hold these for other princes and imperial grandsons? I found the reason for the banquet rather forced. No. The crown prince himself never had a 100-day celebration, the prince said dismissively. We won't go. The flowers and plants at home need our care. Touched, I hugged him and laughed. Yes. Our plants need us. That day we truly spent our time sipping tea and admiring flowers in the greenhouse. However, the famous masterpiece hanging on the wall had been replaced by clumsy paintings done by him and me. Your Highness. Liren finally returned unmarried. I asked him why he hadn't married. He said awkwardly, His Highness was too rushed. This lowly one couldn't find anyone to marry. I pinched the prince. What is it? Speak, the prince said, holding my hand, letting Liren continue. Liren said, Oh right, I almost forgot. There's trouble in the palace. What trouble? The prince asked lightly. His Majesty drank tea offered by the crown prince and was poisoned. He accuses the crown prince of treason and intends to depose him, Liren said. The crown prince is now imprisoned in the imperial clan court. The prince showed no reaction. Such a major event, and you discuss it in this tone? I looked at the master and servant in disbelief. Liren smiled sheepishly and rubbed his nose. What shocked me even more was that the crown prince, in a fit of rage in the imperial clan court, knocked over an oil lamp. The fire caught the curtains and a blaze broke out. The crown prince was trapped for a good while before being rescued. He was in critical condition and passed away after 2 days of treatment. The court was in an uproar, but it had little to do with the Prince of Ning's mansion. The prince attended the crown prince's funeral and then returned home, closing his gates, spending every day with me tending flowers. In September, Min Shi's reputation was ruined. My sister divorced him. Bored at home, she often came to the prince's mansion to see me, saying she was lonely and inviting me to visit our maternal grandparents for a few days. I wanted to go. I was lounging outside the greenhouse, basking in the sun, when the prince approached with Chief Physician Wang. I opened my eyes to look at them. What is it? Is someone ill? This official is here to check your ladyship's pulse for wellness. Congratulations, Your Highness, Your Ladyship. This is a pregnancy pulse about 2 months along, Chief Physician Wang said with a smile. I was instantly fully awake. No wonder I've been so drowsy lately. I was pregnant. Is it advisable to travel so early in the pregnancy? The prince asked Chief Physician Wang. Indeed it is not, Chief Physician Wang, ever perceptive, said. Plenty of rest, and staying close to the child's father is beneficial for stabilizing the pregnancy. The prince nodded. Thank you for your trouble. I'll invite you for tea another day. I wouldn't dare, Chief Physician Wang said, smiling as he left. I leaned back in my chair, looking at the prince with a wry smile. Chief Physician Wang is quite a character. He is an excellent physician, the prince said, kneeling before me and touching my abdomen. You must listen to the physician's advice. I poked his cheek and glared at him. That evening, Consort Liang sent a guide to bearing sons, along with many of the 7th prince's old baby clothes, instructing me to place them under my pillow to guarantee a son. The prince stuffed them all into a chest. Don't listen to her. Sons don't listen to their mothers anyway. Daughters are better, sweet and obedient. Fine. If they don't listen to their mother, let's have a daughter then. He chuckled.
Prince Ning's perspective side story. My mother, Consort Liang, and the Empress are cousins. They didn't get along even in their maiden family. After marrying into the then crown prince's household, they were constantly competing. But mother always used to be the one losing until I was born, and she finally held her head high. As a child, to make mother happy, I would outperform the crown prince in everything. But when I grew older, I understood. The crown prince is the crown prince. If I had no designs on the throne, being on good terms with him was the correct path. So I held myself back, no longer listening to mother. Mother was unhappy, but there was little she could do. After a few years of disappointment in me, she found a way to have my 7th brother. After 7th brother's birth, I had much more freedom. But the crown prince wasn't willing to let me be. He poisoned me. I didn't actually succumb to the poison, but I pretended the blindness it was meant to cause. The crown prince indeed backed off, and I gained the peace I desired. At the end of the year, I went with friends to Zhenhuan for a meal. I heard the crown prince causing a drunken scene in the next room, along with a woman's voice, suppressed with fear and anger. I hadn't intended to intervene, but in the end, I spilled soup on myself and pretended to pass by that room. The young girl was about 14 or 15, delicate-looking, clearly terrified, yet she stubbornly stood her ground against the crown prince. I extricated her from the situation and watched from my carriage as she hurriedly entered her sedan chair before I left. Liren said she was the 2nd miss of the Jiang family. The Jiang family's twin beauties were quite famous in the capital. The elder sister was fiery and often went out with friends. The younger sister was steady and disliked social outings. I didn't think much of it initially, but then, unexpectedly, the emperor, without consulting me, decreed my marriage to the Jiang family's eldest daughter, while the second daughter was betrothed to the new top graduate, Min Shi. I investigated discreetly. The second daughter seemed somewhat fond of Min Shi, but Min Shi was not a good match. He fancied himself a refined romantic but was a philanderer with a history of affairs. With the second daughter's temperament, marrying him would surely mean suffering. I believed the second daughter would be better off married to me. Just as I was planning, the eldest Miss Jiang secretly began meeting with Min Shi. So I gave eldest Miss Jiang a helping hand. But I was still worried. What if the second daughter was too fond of Min Shi and would be heartbroken? What if she later resented me for ruining her marriage? So I visited the Jiang residence twice. She didn't seem overly attached to Min Shi, more like a young girl's naive infatuation. Some anticipation without truly understanding love. Such feelings are easily forgotten when someone better comes along. So, I began preparing the bridal chamber according to the second daughter's preferences. On the wedding day, eldest Miss Jiang successfully entered the Min family's sedan chair, while the second daughter came to the prince's mansion. The moment I lifted the bridal veil, the look on the second daughter's face pained me. The feeling of betrayal by one's own kin is not easy to bear. But I couldn't reveal anything. What if, before the other couple's marriage was consummated, the shameless Min Shi insisted on switching back? If a fuss was raised, I could scold them and keep the second daughter without further repercussions. But the imperial family's dignity wouldn't allow me to let it slide so easily. So I could only pretend not to know. The second daughter was quite amusing. She seemed eager to consummate the marriage quickly and have a child. She even tried to fortify me with tonics. Was she worried about my health? I performed a sword dance for her. Sure enough, she realized my body was fine, perfectly healthy. The second daughter was being threatened. That Zhao girl was truly annoying. I thought she would eventually ask for my help, but after several days, she still hadn't spoken. I had no choice but to take matters into my own hands. Once the Zhao girl left the capital, the second daughter's mood improved significantly. She smiled at me every day. The second daughter was delicate and loved flowers. That day in the peony garden, seeing her so happy, I felt like I would pluck the sun from the sky and give it to her. The second daughter could also be fierce, slapping her sister, throwing stones at Min Shi, her little face fierce and stern. But she never was fierce with me. Watching Min Shi get his head bloodied that day put me in an excellent mood. I knew it. How could the second daughter possibly fancy someone like Min Shi? I couldn't wait any longer, so I let her discover the truth. She confessed everything. Seeing her cautiously tugging at my sleeve, my pretense of anger, which was never really there, completely melted away. That day, we finally consummated our marriage. She spent those days trapped in nothing but anxious waiting that I, on the other hand, suffered through both mental torture and physical hell. However, the scar on her arm was an eyesore. I decided to settle the score for the poison the crown prince had given me. I'd yielded to him for years. It was time to stop. The second daughter was very happy, gentle and attentive, following me around. Her happiness was my happiness. As long as she was happy, I would do anything. As for the crown prince's position, I'll ask the second daughter. If she wants to be the crown princess, then I'll strive for it.
Thank you for listening Beneath the Moonlight. If this story touched your heart, remember to subscribe to Moonlit Love Stories for more tales of love and destiny. Until we meet again, may the moonlight keep you company.